Well, today we're going to talk shovels. Hey folks, welcome to another episode here at Gideon's Tactical. I am your host, Aaron, and that is exactly what we're looking at, is entrenching tools, combat shovels, SPORTSMANS shovels, just shovels in general. That's what we are looking at here today. Now, for a long time, I've had the cold steel, I believe they call it Special Forces or SPORTSMANS shovel. This thing's gonna cost you about $25 to $30 plus an extra $5 for the sheath. So around the $30 price point, made out of 1055 carbon steel, replaceable handles, and comes with razor sharp edge. That is very usable for a lot of kind of do everything tasks, last ditch, combat, self-defense tool, digging a latrine, digging a trench, digging a foxhole, doing light hacking and chopping, all of it, and have loved it and used it for years. It's one of our two most favorite tools to have on any camping trip or when we know we're going to be building a fire. Well, Condor is wanting to get into the game with their camp shovel as well. They just recently dropped this. I went over, purchased this guy for about $40. So you're gonna look at spending about $10 more, and we're gonna talk about all of that today. We're gonna have links in the description below for both of these tools over to Amazon Blade HQ. When you guys use those hyperlinks, helps me get out here, buy gear just like this, so I can give you guys content just like this. So thank you for your support. And at the end of this video, if one of these two tools connects with you, use those hyperlinks and it will really help us out. It's free for you and it helps us continue to do what we do here and make the content here at the channel with those Amazon and Blade HQ hyperlinks, as well as our knock around sunglasses hyperlinks. Awesome sunglasses, all under 50 bucks, aviators, male, female, children's. They got a lot to offer. Go check them out. We get a small kickback through that as well. And I love them. And my family loves them. So if you're looking for those inexpensive, cool looking sunglasses that are gonna really work well for you, we love them here at the Gideon's Tactical household. So with all that being said, that little commercial break, yeah, they've released this. Now, what made me gravitate to it is, even though it's a little bit more expensive, it is smaller. I'm gonna try and line these up here. You can see it's a couple inches shorter. It weighs a little bit less. The blade's a little bit smaller. There's some extra little features, teeth and a bottle cap opener, I guess, or notcher, I don't know. We're gonna talk about all of that today. And we're gonna see where these two shovels fit in, which one's better for certain scenarios and certain situations. Is this is this Condor one gonna usurp and kick the cold steel out of my collection, or do they each have their place and purpose? We're going to talk about all that, discuss it today, and get to work with these two entrenching shovels. So let's go ahead, get to it, and see what they can do. All right, I'll be running in some footage and B-roll here as we discuss these two shovels, not only digging the latrine, but also chopping wood, and we'll kind of break in between and do some B-roll and all that. So the Condor one is made in El Salvador, like most of their tools. The cold steel one is made in Taiwan. The cold steel is made out of 1055 steel, and the Condor one is made out of 1045 steel, from what I'm seeing. Very similar from what I'm seeing. Good heat treats for that type of steel to make it very tough and durable, so it's not going to chip out on you or anything like that. These things are very, very tough and not overly soft, so they're going to bend either, which is a good thing. So when you're prying and battering with this, you're not going to worry about this thing just like, a piece of Play-Doh just wobbling all over the place. Now, the weights are significant in their differences with the sheath, so like the whole package. You're looking on the cold steel at 1 pound 15 ounces. On the Condor, you are looking at 1 pound 8 ounces. So there is a significant difference if you are going to be packing these out that we'll kind of touch on as we wrap up the video in a little bit. The cold steel, very generic in its design. I'll just give you some basic dimensions on the head here. The width is going to be 6 inches, and then from tip to the back end is going to be about 7 inches. And then on the Condor, you're looking at about 5 1/4 inches wide, and then you're looking at from tip to the back of about 6 inches. So it is a little bit smaller in its overall dimension. The cold steel a little bit more, the Condor is a little bit more abrupt with only 3 angles, and then bottle lifter, I guess, which is kind of funny to me. I'm sure if you want to use a bottle cap opener on the same tool you're using, to what's it called, dig your pooper, sure, if you want to contaminate your stuff that way, there's a great way to do it. So just realize that probably more than likely this little hook is more suited for removing a pot from the fire, which it would absolutely be able to do that well. Obviously you can still do the bottle cap opener, but again, if I'm using this for latrine duty, I don't want it near any pots, pans, or anything I'm going to be drinking. So it is very functional in that, but I don't know if I would be using it for that unless I definitely, you know, tried to burn off all nasties first by putting this in the fire for a minute or two. And then this kind of abrupt saw here for notching that we're gonna kind of be testing out here as we go. All right, so we're gonna jump in here first with what shovels are designed to do, dig. So we'll dig with these bad boys and I'll give you the results. All right, I'm gonna start with the Condor. Found a prime poop location. Nice strong tree to lean up against. Nice flat area, hopefully not a lot of roots. We're gonna dig a latrine right now. Nice. All right next to the other one, round 2 with the cold steel. There we go. So when it came to latrine duty, digging a poop hole, which these will definitely be used for, I believe one of their main purposes, what I found was that the Condor one has a little bit better designed blade to actually cut through roots. It's more abrupt, more angled, so it's able to cut through that stuff a little bit easier, but the blade is smaller, so you just have to do more scoops to remove more dirt. Whereas on the cold steel, the blade, you have to work a little bit harder. You have to, you know, thrust a little bit harder to get and break through harder dirt and or roots, because the blade is a little more rounded, but the blade is longer and the handle's a little bit longer, so you don't have to do as many scoops once you've got loose dirt. So there's positives and negatives to each one. More scoops with the Condor over here, but will cut through faster. Less scoops, but have to work a little harder to cut through roots on the cold steel. So there you have it on the 2 tools when it comes to digging. The second thing is all the other stuff you might do with an entrenching tool. You know, it's not just a garden shovel. You can do more things with it. It's a great backup tool if you had to. Last ditch tool. And a lot of people over, you know, the last 200 years that soldiers in particular have been carrying these, you know, have used it in that way to not only dig foxholes and latrines and that type of thing, but also as last ditch tools in different ways. So we're gonna just do some hacking here, and I'll actually start out with this little sawtooth side here that you could use to, you know, to gnarl through some roots and that type of thing, but also you could use it, you know, to dig some sort of notch, or, you know, like to kind of gnaw through to make a small notch if you wanted to do that and needed something to, you know, do snares, triggers, traps, you know, those type of things. The saw can absolutely do it and give you kind of a clean little cut there that's about the thickness of the shovel. So, I mean, yeah, it's a nice little added bonus. Is it something that makes me want to buy it more than the cold steel? No, but it is a nice little feature. Next up is the sharp edges on both of these guys, and we're going to start out with the Condor. And what I found was, because of the balance and the weight and a little bit more compact feel, this was really a great backup chopper. You can do some delimbing. You can absolutely deal in some trees and branches, you know, for a fire. If your axe broke, you forgot your axe, you lost it, whatever, or, you know, a large machete, you can easily do the work of, say, like a you know, like a BK2 in the sense of like hacking and chopping, you know, or an SE5. Those type of tools, this guy can absolutely compete with them on a chopping level, if not even surpass them, because of just the longer handle and a little bit of the weight balance and that type of thing. And because of the blade, it absolutely, you know, works in that way, which is really nice to see that. So it's a light hacker for sure, and it's pretty maneuverable for not only hacking branches, but if you had to in a last-ditch self-defense role. Now on the cold steel, it's obviously got that blade for digging, but what I've found is, and having used it a long time, it's hard to put an edge back on it once it dulls. I've done my best without using like a grinder and spending a ton of time on it. It does a pretty good job. it's not as good as the Condor in hacking, chopping, you know, even feather stick making, doing all that kind of stuff. The Condor could do it if need be, just because, again, of the little bit more compact size, a little bit more maneuverable. The cold steel is definitely a bigger tool. It's heavier, it's more cumbersome, it's wider, so it's great for digging. But for other tasks you may think you want to do with this, even last ditch, you know, self-defense, it's not going to be able to compete at the nimbleness and the fine cutting capability or hacking capability that the Condor can, just because it's more designed to dig and cut through roots, and then if need be, to bludgeon. All right, we're going to go ahead and talk handles here. That's a big part of the tools. Now, when you measure them, I'm going to go first on the cold steel. From tip to tip, you're looking at 16 inches overall, and then from the lip here to the end of the handle, you're looking about 13.5 inches overall length. And then on the Condor, we're looking at 12 inches, just a hair over, 12.25 inches from tip to tip. And then from the actual lip of the blade to the handle, so the actual exposed part, is going to be about 10.5 inches overall. So we are looking there at definitely about 3 to 4 inches of difference in handle length. Now, the cold steel one just says like hardwood. I thought somewhere, it's not hickory, but hardwood, I guess. And then this, I believe, is ash, is what they said on the Condor website, if I remember correctly. So very durable. Going to hold up for a very, very long time. Had the cold steel for, you know, a couple years. Beat on this Condor, seeing similar results. Some things to note is that I like the bell that the cold steel has. It gives you a really good grip right there. One of the things that I always kind of complain about, though, is that it doesn't come standard with a lanyard hole. Now, of course, you could drill that out and do your little thing and make it happen. You know, and I know people love modifying stuff. I'm sure there's some guy right now drilling a hole in a cold steel Special Forces shovel right now for a lanyard. But I prefer less maintenance, or less, you know, do it your own as possible with gear in general. That's my kind of a philosophy. So the Condor does come with a pre-drilled lanyard hole. I ran my lanyard in there. Definitely helped with the grip. Never worried about it, you know, sliding out or flying. This one's pretty good, but, you know, and the bell does do a lot to keep it in your hand, but a lanyard is just that extra safety net. The Condor one over here has like a steel butt cap. Okay, I don't really, I mean, it's cool, I guess. I guess you could use it like to hammer or non-lethals, I guess, or something. I see no need for it. It's not a selling point to me. I'm not like, oh my gosh, this metal cap is super nice. I don't care, whatever. None of that, though, on the cold steel, something just to note. And then the cold steel one, I know that you can get replaceable handles for, I think, $5, so that's nice. I would, in fact, buy, if you're going to do this whole setup and you are going to go with the cold steel, buy a spare handle right out of the gate, so when it does break eventually over time, something may happen to it, boom, you have it right there. And I like that it just has these 2 screws right here. Boom, 2 screws, Phillips head, big, unscrew those, back them out, replace them right away, nice and easy. Now, I am not sure, because the Condor just dropped, if they're going to sell aftermarket handles. I would recommend that they do. If they do not, they should have these, because somebody's going to crack them, break them. It's just the, you know, the nature of the beast. So I'm not 100%. Maybe they do already, and I'm not sure. If they don't, look around. If they never come around to selling handles to be replaced, that is a downside. Now, you can obviously craft your own. You might even be able to work a cold steel one in there, but maybe, you know, you contact them and they'll send you a spare handle. But to not just be able to purchase a spare handle, that's kind of annoying if they do not do that. I do not know. They may or may not down the line. Now, this one is pinned in. Not as big a fan of that as the screws, because that means that if there's a crack or something, I will be able to jerry-rig it, you know, snap it, break it, loosen it all up, get those pins out of there and do what I need to. It's just going to take more effort, more work. So I would call that a drawback. It's not anything that's loosening up or whatever, but over a long period of time, if this is your tool for the next 10 to 20 years, then, and you use it a lot, this will eventually wear out or break in some way, shape, or form, and then having to just fight with those pins to, you know, get the handle off is going to be an issue. Once you get it off, boom, just get some, you know, screws screwed in, you're good to go. That's what I would do, or you could even run a bolt, you know, and do bolts and nuts. That's probably, in fact, what I'll do whenever, if one day it does break, that's probably what I'll do. So not a huge deal, but it is something that I wanted to point out to you. And then finally, the head does have a gap here on the Condor. It's just a folded piece of metal here. They have spot welded it on the cold steel. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily positive or negative. It just means that you're probably a little easier to work with and mold on a different sized handle if you had to, in an emergency situation, or even possibly get like a full size handle if you wanted to, or whatever. You could kind of flex and, you know, with a bolt or with a wrench or something, you know, flex it back and forth. With this guy, this one, you're not going to have as much of an ability to do that. Positives and negatives to both. All right, so we'll look here at the sheaths really quick. Very similar, you know, kind of low budget nylon. Tough, durable though. On the cold steel, it's going to be very basic. You're going to have these two large nylon snaps, good front piece here. On the back, you're going to have a very large panel to run belts and different types of things through. This is about 6 inches, and then you're going to kind of have a dangle feature here that you could lash to different items. This is sold separately, so you can save yourself about $5 if you're not really worried about carrying this around in the edge, possibly cutting or nicking other things like that, and you're not going to be carrying it on a pack or on a belt. You know, if you're maybe putting it on an ATV, you're putting it on a four-wheeler, you're doing it with you know, some sort of just gardening tool, or on a Jeep, or, you know, 4x4, then you could save yourself a little bit of money if you don't really see any need with the sheath. The Condor one does come standard. So this one, again, similar type of nylon, nothing really to write home about, but it has a lot of leather highlights, which is kind of cool. So it makes it look a little nicer. There's just a little bit more aesthetic appeal to it. I wouldn't say it adds any durability here. It's more just aesthetics. But the nice thing is that it has these leather snaps instead of the nylon snaps. A secondary snap here, so you can kind of slide it out to the side and just kind of remove it a little quicker. Much better for like a belt carry or something like that if you needed to. And instead of the two attachments that we had over here, it has these snaps that could run through MOLLE and actually MOLLE it to a piece of gear. Now this is a little bit more heavy duty in the sense that there's no tabs to accidentally pop off. The buttons, you know, could pop. They seem to be pretty strong, you know, pretty durable there. But, you know, if you're falling down a mountain or something like that, this may, you know, pop off and get lost. Whereas this, if you run something through there, you're not going to lose it. So I would say overall between the two, I like the MOLLE compatibility that these have that can run through MOLLE or just quicker attach to belts and gear like that. This one is a little bit more foolproof. I would have liked to see an extra nylon or leather attachment up here, kind of like this extra loop, so I could run it over through a sling or something like that and just give me a secondary option that isn't attached to the buttons. But overall between the two, this one is a little bit more pack ready. This one is a little bit less mounting options and more designed just to protect the blade. All right, to bring it to a close and a conclusion, I would say this. If you just need a shovel and you're car camping, weight is not an issue, size is not an issue, you're four-wheeling, you know, you're building out maybe not a get-home bag, but, you know, like a survival system for the house, you know, something like that, this tool is indispensable. It's awesome. It's going to run you about $30, and it's going to be basically indestructible. I mean, it's a phenomenal tool that me and the crew have been using for years. The crew has several, you know, of my videography crew, because they just love them and they see such value in it. They're great for around the house, you know, doing yard work and that type of thing, and you're not going to break the bank. But if you're looking for more of a do-everything tool and you're planning on packing out a shovel a lot, I would go with this Condor. Basically because of some of the things we've discussed, obviously. From what I can tell, possibly a little bit thinner on the blade, but doesn't, you know, bend, warp, or anything like that. Making it a little bit easier with the grinding as well to resharpen. It's a lot harder with the grinding on this one just to get the fine edge once it goes away. The saw, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it kind of helps a little bit. Bottle cap opener is a joke. But it just feels a lot more nimble in the hand. So if you are thinking you might use this as a backup tool for chopping and delimbing, last ditch, you know, combat, swing, you know, across the brain pan, God forbid, or something like that. Or just, again, like a get home bag, or you're just trekking up and, you know, you do a lot of fires and you'd like to have a shovel to put your fires out and dig a fire pit, dig a latrine, and you're not going to be near a vehicle. This is a very packable system because it's smaller, it's a little bit lighter weight, and just has a little bit more utility in my opinion, but isn't quite as good just a shovel like this guy from Cold Steel is. But both are awesome, just depends on what you need and what scenario you think you're going to deploy it more likely in. Thank you again so much, guys, for checking out the channel. Again, don't forget those hyperlinks over to Knock Around Sunglasses and Two Blade HQ and Amazon that we offer to you guys. Really appreciate when you guys support the channel in those ways. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, throwing up videos and content and pictures all the time, stuff that we're working on, different projects that are coming down the line, so you can kind of get a heads up of stuff coming down the line soon. And let's see what else. Don't forget about the mailbag. We do mailbag here all the time, and that's a great way to get your questions possibly answered in an upcoming video. So just put hashtag mailbag in those comments below, and we might have your question come across and get answered in an upcoming video. Finally, guys, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.